Hey everyone, I'm Riley Timmins from Cacheflow. I'm going to talk about a strategy where we actually used our own product to generate about 65K in qualified pipeline this past quarter. It took us about 2 quarters to really start seeing some good results. And it's sort of in the category of using your own product for growth. So anyone that has the ability to do this, by either throwing on a logo or something like that, it's a pretty unique strategy to try. Essentially, when an end user signs a cash flow quote, we populate a CTA button where users can then go and learn more about cash flow. And then the tactic was, what we put on that landing page to make it really highly converting. And then for people we had to involve in this, it was, our product team and a couple of freelancers for design. But other than that, it was a pretty low cost tactic.
If that resonates with you, listen along. Also, check out our other episodes. You're listening to TNDR, the B2B SaaS growth podcast brought to you by Spear Growth. The goal of the podcast is to enable you, our listeners, to generate an additional $100,000 in cumulative pipeline by May 2024. To do this, we bring people who have made a real impact in their companies. They cut through the fluff and dive deep into one tactic or strategy of theirs. I'm your host, Ishan. Let's generate pipeline.
Hey Riley, thank you so much for joining us. And this is not the first episode we've done together. So this is going to be, I always enjoy having you on, essentially.
I enjoy being here. Thanks for having me back.
So yeah, let's give everyone a quick background. You obviously are heading marketing at Cacheflow at the moment, but give us a quick 30-second take on what you've been up to.
Yeah, so my name is Riley Timmins. I'm the head of marketing at Cacheflow. What we do at Cacheflow is we help seed to Series B stage SaaS companies manage deal closing. So, what this is everything from quoting, contract generation, managing payments, billing, and then actually subscription management, where it goes into renewals and expansions, kind of just making one really clean source of truth for everything related to deals, and kind of remove the friction on the seller side and the buyer side to make it more enjoyable and delightful. And what I've been up to recently is, just kind of really continuing our growth engine. So we've only been going to market for the past year. So really, making a lot of noise on social campaigns, events, even kind of figuring out our positioning and messaging, and kind of building like a lot of new cool features for the market.
Awesome. So the tactic or the strategy that you mentioned, right, was using your own, you mentioned that you use your own product in your product workflow, or when people are using it, there's CTAs. Can you maybe expand on what exactly it looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So in this scenario, we have our own customers who would be the sellers, and then our customers' customers who would be the buyers. So our customers, the sellers, they are sending their customers cash flow quotes when they're ready to close a new deal. And once that deal actually gets signed, only at that point would we actually emerge a little CTA option. Hey, you just went through this kind of cool new buyer experience for B2B SaaS. Do you want to check it out and learn a bit more about it? And what's unique about this group is it's not like an ad where it's this new concept. They actually just experienced a B2B buyer checkout. So, it's something kind of cool. They were able to do it really fast, and they want to see like, what is this thing all about? What else does it actually do? And how do I kind of build one for myself? Essentially it's network effects. The more customers we have and the more quotes our customers are sending, it's kind of like the more viral that button will appear. And, we've seen traffic on this page go from about like 5 users every month to about 10 users every day. And that's just over the past 3 quarters or so.
Awesome. So by the way, that's just amazing. So this tactic can only be used, let's say, by companies who have a product that has multiple stakeholders. For example, even the people who your product interacts with, like your customers in this case, should also be potential users of essentially Cacheflow or our company. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So, a lot of all of our customers are SaaS companies, and a lot of them are selling to other SaaS companies as well. So you're right. Not everyone is relevant, but I would say probably like over 50% of our customers could also become
Yeah.
ours. The important thing, is we don't want to interrupt their sort of selling flow. So that's why we only show it at the very end of when a deal is closed. But yeah, it is really nice. I've been in a lot of other companies where our customers have no idea what tools they use. There's no opportunity to sort of surface who's behind it. So yeah, it's a fun tactic to get to work with.
Oh yeah, 100%. So you mentioned that you've generated $65,000 in qualified pipeline in the last quarter. Is that correct?
Yeah, in sort of qualified sales opportunities. Yeah.
Awesome. And so when you calculate, let's say 65,000, how are you tracking that? Is it through people who are converting through that page? Is there a form? How are you attributing that 65K?
Yeah, so we actually use, like, of course we have UTMs on that button, right? And then so we can track it from there. We can track it from the landing page. But honestly, we typically, it's the first thing we hear when those people get on the sales demo. There's a couple of customers in particular too, right? They usually mention, "Hey, I just signed up with this company and was kind of really curious what this was," or, "Hey, like our CFO just signed this contract from this company and told us to go check you out." So we kind of acquire them that way.
Awesome. So when you started thinking about, hey, let's implement this, right? So what was the first hypothesis? Did you have something that, hey, we will do this and this is what to expect once we implement? Because this is, you must have had to coordinate with a lot of different teams. This is not your normal marketing day-to-day activity. So what was the initial hypothesis? And then we can maybe discuss what actually happened.
Yeah, it was sort of those one of those situations where you come in and you just see a lot of low hanging fruit. So before I actually came in, it was just a pop up. So the end user would sign, and then there'd be a little pop up that was like, "Hey, check out Cacheflow," but there was no like link. There's definitely nothing trackable. So it was kind of just like, "Hey, we should really be sending these people to the website, and then really send them to a more of a custom landing page," which we just implemented last quarter, where we kind of saw the conversion lift. But the hypothesis is, no one's really more curious or has a better understanding than someone that just signed a cash flow quote, right? You can get a pretty good understanding from the website, from ads, even from like marketing content and videos. But if you just actually went through it firsthand, and most of these people will have been interacting with this cash flow quote for a couple weeks to get the deal closed. We knew those were going to be really qualified buyers. We just have to do everything we can to help the conversion. So yeah, that was sort of the idea.
And let's say in cases where, let's say if someone is using cash flow from one company to another company that can also buy from cash flow, but the person they're selling to, let's say the head of marketing is signing a contract, right? So then that's not the right person in the company in front that to use this. Do you have something to address this, or do you just say that, okay, no, it's better when I guess finance buys from you, so it's better to sell to, or this works better when our customers are selling to companies that or are selling to finance folks in other companies?
Yeah, so it really depends on the customer, who the customer is selling to. We've definitely noticed a couple times where the person says, "Hey, our CFO told us to go check this out." But there is a bit of a sweet spot. I'd say it's more in like the 50 employee range, and it's the CEO. Typically, when you're 50 or below, the CEO is the one signing everything, and they're the ones that can be a bit more motivated by like cool new tools, or especially moving quickly. So we certainly get a lot of CEOs of 30 to 50 employee companies. But yeah, it's kind of a little all over the place for personas.
Okay, perfect. So when you actually, let's say when you went ahead and just let's get into the weeds, right? So let's say
Sure.
who did you have to speak with? You mentioned you also work with a couple of freelancers. What were they doing? Because you have a product team. So can you walk me through, okay, who were the stakeholders? Like almost in a story format, like what happened?
Yeah. I mean, it really wasn't too complex. We work with the product team just to get the like the pop up and the link sort of installed in the right place, and then we played around a couple times, just like what that pop up looks like to drive a bit more attention. But we also, at the end of the day, it's still our customers' quotes, so you don't want to be like too disruptive. So place and timing when you surface that is really important. And then really the freelancers are just like on the Webflow side. Being a marketing team of one right now, it's important to pull in freelancers and contractors and agencies when you need the specialist help. So yeah, it was one other freelancer just to help build the landing page, and we actually included an interactive demo tool like a walnut demo for the first time. And we figured this was like a really good sort of testing point for that, because we don't even have to show the whole front end of Cacheflow, which is the quoting checkout experience. We can kind of jump straight into the back end because we know they have the context of what they just signed.
Interesting. So let's say there's a link. Where does the link lead to?
Yeah, so right now the link goes to a sort of like custom private landing page. Like it's not really hosted from our main site, and it's all about, hey, you just experienced Cacheflow. Do you want to experience building a quote for yourself? And it's pretty cool because we can do a lot more showing than telling here. So really, like the main hero is the interactive demo. Like we call out, do you want to see how to build one of these yourselves? We also want to kind of highlight the other parts of Cacheflow without really overwhelming them with too much info. And also because we know these people are further along, social proof's important. So video testimonials, lots of logos, lots of written testimonials. Eventually, the goal will be to actually build these out by personas for kind of all those things I just mentioned. And what's really cool, like on the CRM side, right, is it's not our highest like number of opportunity driver, but it is very high quality. So I would say almost all of them make it into like the qualified pipeline, and it's by far one of our highest close rate channels, just because of like how much context and how much they enjoyed doing a B2B checkout themselves.
Wow. Okay, those are really important points. Okay, so I know it's only been a quarter, so is it a good time or do you already have enough data that, hey, if let's say, how do I project this? Let's say if I'm in a different company, I want to try something similar. How do I project, okay, how much pipeline, how many sales, how much anything can I expect from an activity like this? Do you have any numbers on, okay, these many people used our product, or it was sent to these many people who aren't our customers? And then how many of them actually clicked on a link or scheduled a demo? And do you have any metrics around that?
Yeah, so I will say the one thing here is we don't have a ton of control, right? On the good side is it's very low cost. Once we kind of build the landing page, it's just a matter of like waiting for our customers to close deals. And it only kind of goes up, right? The more customers, the more quotes they send. But the downside is there's no real targeting. You can't really just like put more dollars behind it and get more impressions. So it's sort of one of those situations. But I will say, traffic was quite low when we first started, and I think that's a mix of having a smaller amount of customers, but also not really having everything optimized. Like you really want to think about it. Like setting it up for conversion and testing it the same way you would like a big LinkedIn ads campaign. And because we know like every click is very qualified, the conversion rate is like above 10%, which is like better than any ads channel we run. But like I mentioned, it's only about like 5 to 10 sort of users per day clicking on that. So really, really like important to do everything you can to help the conversion. And also to make the link like seen as possible.
Awesome. And did you ever face any pushback from your customers that, hey, we don't want a cash flow pop up at the end of the flow or anything of that sorts?
No, not really. And honestly, like we have been like very much on the conservative side of where and when we show this button. Of course, as the marketer, I've always kind of been curious how we can surface that earlier. But yeah, like definitely the number one priority is make sure our customers have a good selling experience. And so we really only put it in where it makes sense and where there's no possible disruption to the deal getting closed, which is why it's right after they sort of sign the contract. But yeah, I'm always curious and wondering what other maybe interesting areas could we surface it where it's not too disruptive. Because we don't want to be running ads on our customers' quotes. That's definitely not the goal. It's got to be careful and smart. Yeah.
And so when you implement this, was it something that you thought would happen in a certain way but didn't, or just something that you would do differently if you did it again?
Yeah, what I would do differently when we started is we just kind of sent everyone to the homepage. So I would definitely, start testing a couple landing pages right away, especially because, these users have more context and more sort of urgency to find out what this is. I would say that's the number one thing I would do different.
Awesome. And then I think that's all the questions I have. Is there something that I should have asked about this and I didn't?
No, I think we covered it.
Awesome. So if people had to reach out to you for maybe questions after this, how should someone reach out to you?
Yeah, best place would be LinkedIn. It's just Riley Timmins. Love talking with other marketers. And yeah, you can also check us out at getcacheflow.com. That's CACHE flow.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Riley, for doing this again.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Ishan.
Thank you for listening to the TLDR podcast. In case you're wondering, Spear Growth is a marketing agency. We help B2B SaaS companies like yourself with ads and SEO. Check out our website at speargrowth.com. That is SPEARGROWTH.com. Just like this, every episode starts with a 1-minute summary of what we discuss. Pick the next episode to listen to based on what you can implement right away. And after you implement any of these tactics and see an impact, we'd appreciate you drop us a note on podcast@speargrowth.com.